In 1955, Walt Disney opened Disneyland in Anaheim, California, introducing the world to his vision for a new thing, a theme park. More than a mere amusement park, Disney's park would be clean, well-kept, a place for family entertainment. It would feature a main street modeled loosely on his hometown of Marceline, Missouri. Within Disneyland, every experience, view, and interaction will be carefully curated to make you feel like you're in this magical bubble. Then you leave the park, cross Harbor Boulevard, and the bubble bursts. You're met with wide suburban arterial streets, strip malls, and motels. Walt himself hated this juxtaposition. He even anticipated the problem and tried to encourage a friend to purchase the land next to his, so at least he could have some say in what would go there, but his friend declined. Later, his friend would say that was one of the biggest business mistakes of his life, but at the time, people were betting against Disney and Disneyland. After the eventual success of Disneyland, Disney eventually went on to buy 25,000 acres in Central Florida, where he could build multiple theme parks and surround them with vast swaths of natural area, shielding his guests from anything that could pierce the Disney bubble. The story I just told you is kind of the origin story of the Walt Disney Resort in Florida. It also implies that while Disneyland was the first park, Walt Disney World is the ultimate park, the closest reflection of Walt Disney's true vision, the better resort, basically. And I'm here to tell you that that assessment is wrong. Disneyland is better, at least from an urbanism point of view. And the commentary about how bad Anaheim is just blown out of proportion. Now, I'm no apologist for suburbia, but at least there's a mix of land uses near the park entrance, unlike Walt Disney World, which is basically ex-urban sprawl and a county-sized gated community. But while Disneyland may be better, there are other parks out there with even better land use neighbors. The question I'm interested in is, where's the best place to put a theme park? Let's find out after the bike bell. If you feel like you're having deja vu, like you've seen this video before, it could be because you've watched Ray's City Nerd video a couple of months ago on this very topic. This is what happens when two urbanist YouTubers attend the same conference in Anaheim. But while Ray does a nice job comparing Disneyland and Anaheim, I'm going to talk a little more about how the relationships between park and city differ between resorts. It's sort of fascinating how different Disneyland and Walt Disney World are, but also how different they are compared to Tokyo Disney or Universal Studios Japan. Consider my video just another part of the discussion on the topic of theme park urbanism. Okay, let's get on with the discussion of theme park urbanism with a deep dive into the two US Disney parks, starting with the original. And I want to get started by putting them in context a little bit. Disneyland is in Southern California, a region anchored by the city of Los Angeles. Los Angeles County is right here. Fun fact, LA County with its 9 million people is more populous than 40 of the 50 US states. There's lots of people in there. But right next door to LA County is Orange County. It was named for the orange groves that used to cover the landscape of this area, including the land that would eventually become Disneyland. While this is a suburban part of the Southern California region, 3 million people live in the OC, making it more populous than 19 US states. Within Orange County is Anaheim, and within Anaheim is Disneyland, located right here adjacent to Interstate 5. Disney owns a variety of properties in the area, including these parking lots here, but the core resort area is this rectangle. This area is the original Disneyland park and backstage areas built in 1955. A lot of the original organization of the park remains the same, though attractions have changed or been improved upon. One of the biggest recent additions was Star Wars Galaxy's Edge in 2019. Back in 1955 though, this area down here was a big parking lot. But in 2001, the company opened up a second park, California Adventure. Parking moved to adjacent blocks, and today there are parking lots and garages here, and a large satellite lot back over here. There's also the original Disneyland Hotel across Disneyland Drive. It's connected to the promenade between the two parks by Downtown Disney, a shopping and dining area. There's also another hotel that opened with California Adventure called the Grand Californian Hotel and Spa. Finally, there's a third hotel, the Pixar Place Hotel. That pretty much covers the land uses on Disney's property. Now let's take a look at the land uses around Disneyland. The entire park and most of the hotels nearby are in the Anaheim Resort Specific Plan area. In California, a specific plan is a tool a city can use to create more specific regulations for a defined area. They're often used in developing a brand new neighborhood with multiple land uses. But the plan area here doesn't include the housing directly adjacent to Disney's property, which is zoned as single-family and multifamily residential. It looks like typical California suburbs with smaller lot single-family homes and some attached townhomes and condos. The street pattern is better than average, with few cul-de-sacs in neighborhoods with multiple connections to the suburban arterial grid network. It actually kind of follows my favorite urban planning graphic of all time from the journal article The Evolving Metropolis by Michael Southworth and Peter Owens. Let's look at it. These neighborhoods were initially built in the 1950s and 1960s, and the street patterns are similar to this graphic. Older suburbs tend to be more connected than newer ones, and you can see that here. Within the Anaheim Resort specific plan area, we do have motels, hotels, strip malls, and other tourist-focused establishments. They're obviously not designed and built to the same standard as Disneyland, but they honestly aren't that tacky. The city has done a nice job along Catella Avenue, creating a nice walkable streetscape that masks some of the disparate styles of the urbanism along the corridor. You can also see tons of people walking from their hotels to Disneyland. It's common for people to stay at an off-Disney hotel, park their car there, and walk to and from the park. And while the streets that form the edges of Disneyland, like Catella and Harbor Boulevard, are wide and filled with traffic, I didn't actually find them terrible to walk along, thanks to wide sidewalks and plenty of fellow pedestrians around. I should also mention another important land use, the Anaheim Convention Center. It's the largest convention facility on the West Coast. It's also a great complement to Disneyland, as they both can take advantage of the same tourist-serving amenities like restaurants and hotels. Okay, so that's Disneyland. Let's take a look at Walt Disney World in Florida. It's located here, about 20 miles from Orlando, Florida, a region with about 2.7 million people. Disney bought up 25,000 acres in Orange and Osceola counties, which at the time was mostly swamp, with a promising road network, easy access to an airport, and on the other side of the country as Disneyland, all useful for a successful resort. Disney also founded the Reedy Creek Improvement District, a special district that essentially allowed the company to have governmental control over the area, similar to a county government. It's recently been renamed the Central Florida Tourism Oversight District, in part because Disney got into a battle with Florida Governor Ron DeSantis, and he took control over the district. Previously, the district was governed by a 5-member board of supervisors. Those supervisors were chosen by the company and given a piece of land within the district, making them the only people to live in the district, meaning they would get elected without being contested. After DeSantis changed the district, the board members are now chosen by the governor and confirmed by the Florida Senate. But just before the governor took control of the board, RCID and the Disney Corporation signed a development agreement that ceded most of the district's power to Disney itself, meaning the new oversight board only was responsible for things like public roads. So now, as before, Disney essentially governs itself over an incredibly large swath of land. Let's look at the land uses within the resort property. While Disneyland has 2 parks, Disney World has 4. There's the Magic Kingdom, the analog of the Disneyland park, then Epcot, the experimental prototype community of tomorrow. There's Disney Hollywood Studios, and then Disney's Animal Kingdom Resort. It's actually going to be hard to name all the land uses within the area, as it's approximately the size of a county and includes uses that make it essentially its own separate city, including a wastewater treatment center, recycling center, fire stations, and more. Disney has so far only developed about half of the acreage under its control, and about 1/3 or 8,000 acres of land is actually never to be developed, but instead protected in partnership with the Nature Conservancy. This move ensures that Disney development will never be right up against any other non-Disney development like in Anaheim. It's a greenbelt strategy. Just like Anaheim, there are lots of non-Disney hotels in the area, but they're not within walking distance. Many have shuttles to transport their guests to the Disney parks, but there are certainly more vehicle miles traveled associated with non-Disney guests visiting the parks. And honestly, there's more VMT within the resort area too. Disney runs a massive fleet of buses to shuttle everyone from hotels to parks and back again. There are some other options like the monorail, but even if all the transportation options are sustainable, it's still way longer to get from point A to point B in Disney World than Disneyland. I actually found Disneyland to be a really nice walkable bubble. You can get to all the parks and hotels by walking. In Disney World, you can't. To accommodate all of this driving from place to place, Disney World has some massive parking lots. The Magic Kingdom parking lot is one of the top 5 largest parking lots in the world, with capacity for 12,000 vehicles. It's bigger than the park itself. Disneyland also has some parking lots, but also some parking structures. The Mickey and Friends parking structure has a capacity for 10,000 cars, making it one of the largest parking garages in the world. But you'd rather have parking in a structure than spread out across the landscape of Central Florida. The primary point of this comparison is to rethink some of the discourse around the Disney parks. Disneyland gets a lot of flack for being embedded in suburbia, but compared to Disney World, Disneyland's location is downright urban. I guess if you're a hardcore Disney fan, you might appreciate how big the Disney bubble is in Florida, but it kind of feels like a lot of smaller bubbles connected by buses. Disneyland is a big, walkable bubble that you can actually walk to and from an affordable hotel. And anytime that Disney World expands, it feels like it's adding to suburban sprawl. Whereas when Disneyland expands, it's essentially infill development. Okay, so Disneyland is a better theme park, urban planner-wise at least, but strip malls and motels aren't exactly the best case for adjacent land uses. There's still a lot of people driving and parking in massive parking garages and parking lots. Is there an optimal setting for a theme park? It's a difficult question to answer, but I'm going to simplify things by looking at only 2 dimensions: transportation and adjacent land uses. Transportation first. Disneyland is adjacent to Interstate 5, and Disney World is adjacent to Interstate 4. These are the primary ways guests reach the parks. Ideally, a theme park would be on a high-capacity transit stop, reducing the need for highways and seas of parking, inefficient land uses that raise the nearby temperature. It's just bad for guest experience. It's also no fun to walk through a parking lot. There are theme parks out there that are on transit lines, but they aren't in the United States. Let's head over to Japan. Tokyo Disney Resort has a metro stop adjacent to it, and when visitors arrive, they enter the resort gateway area. From here, they can take a monorail to the two parks, Tokyo Disneyland and Tokyo Disney Sea. There's also a stop where guests can access all of the hotels, thoughtfully organized along the waterfront, yet still adjacent to the parks. There are still cars around. The resort has an exit on a major highway, and there's a large parking structure over here. Now, maybe this is because I took a metro here when I visited, but it really feels like the park is more oriented to the transit than the car. You surely don't need one to get where you need to go. There are also shuttles from the hotels. Now let's talk about land use, my favorite topic. What do you want to surround a park? Ideally, it's other tourist-serving uses. Both American Disney resorts have that, and so too does Tokyo Disney Resort. It only makes sense. Convention centers, water parks, malls are all synergistic land uses that keep tourists in one place instead of spreading everyone around. But eventually that tourist district has to bump up against other uses. Is there an optimal use? Maybe it's because I'm pretty laissez-faire about zoning generally, but I think a lot of uses could work well. If you look at Disneyland, there are single-family homes adjacent to Disney property. They're adjacent to the parking lots now, but the recently approved Disneyland Forward plan will see expansions to both parks, putting residents a few hundred feet from the Disney bubble. I looked through the plan and the community input, and it seems like all the impacts of that development can be mitigated. Noise has been studied, and it looks like it shouldn't be a big issue. Anaheim even has an elementary school adjacent to some of the nearby hotels. If you happen to live in this area, let me know in the comments if it's a hassle to live there. I imagine that the tours can be annoying, but I've been into these actual neighborhoods and they seem pretty chill. There are even single-family homes adjacent to Tokyo Disney Resort. They're right over here. I mean, I'm never going to advocate for single-family homes when you can build multifamily homes in an urban area, but traditionally, residents of single-family homes are the most sensitive to adjacent uses. And here they are adjacent to attractions that serve tens of millions of visitors a year. On the other end of the spectrum, Universal Studios Japan in Osaka is plopped in the middle of an industrial area near the harbor. It's just surrounded by steel mills and warehouses. I mean, I guess that works too, though honestly, I'd prefer strip malls and motels. I guess what I'm saying is that just about anything is better than surrounding your park with nothing. Theme parks can coexist with urban and suburban uses. This also means that they can synergize with other tourist uses and be connected to mass transit networks. There's nothing about them that requires them to be in the middle of nowhere unless the park's creator is hell-bent on building a swamp moat around the park to inflate its bubble. Like I said, this video is just another among many about Disney and urbanism. The City Nerd video I mentioned is really good, and I recommend you check it out if you haven't already. It's actually available ad-free on Nebula. Nebula is a streaming service full of thoughtful creators, including me. We post exclusive content there, often well before it shows up on YouTube. City Nerd is on Nebula, so too is Not Just Bikes, Downey Live, Stuart Hicks, Wendover Productions, and other great cities and transportation channels. It's like Urbanist Central on Nebula, and it's the best place to watch and support those creators and the great work that they're doing. I also wanted to highlight Jetlag, a travel game show produced by the Wendover crew. If you haven't seen it yet, I highly recommend it. It's funny, addictive, and built to appeal to the City Beautiful viewer. They've made over a dozen seasons and more are on the way. If you like more City Beautiful content, I got exclusive content on Nebula as well. That includes my Great City series. It profiles some of the most iconic parts of the world's most important cities. I also produce Planning Ancient Rome, a never-before-seen visual history of the ancient city. It's some of my best work because Nebula provided additional resources, and it's only available on that platform. In all, Nebula offers you, the viewer, an ad-free experience filled with videos produced by a curated group of thoughtful YouTubers. And those thoughtful creators are also publishing big-budget, high-quality exclusive content. You can get all of this for a surprisingly affordable price. If you sign up with my link, nebula.tv/citybeautiful, you'll get 40% off an annual subscription. My channel will even get a portion of that subscription fee as long as you stay subscribed, so it's the best way to support me and this channel. Nebula also is offering lifetime memberships for people who want to go above and beyond in the support of my channel and the platform. I love that we have a couple of different ways of allowing people to show their support. And if you want to help others support City Beautiful, Nebula now offers gift memberships. Perfect for a last-minute birthday gift or just something to give a loved one. So thank you so much for watching and supporting this channel.